Good evening, everyone. Hello. I hope y'all doing all right. Welcome. For those who don't know, my name is Wesley Wright, Chief Executive Officer of the Regenerate Society and coordinator of our Strip a Women's Project initiative. I say that with as much. I say that as with as much humble ness that I can put in that title, right? Our committee actually chose me to be a part of it. They allowed it when the idea first came about. So still trying to figure out why sometimes, but it's been one of the most rewarding things that I've actually ever been a part of. So shout out to them. They killed it. We're just coming off of our project, our event, our women's free poll session. So it was incredible from what I could hear from the outside, right? But it sounded really cool, right? And we're finishing up our 21 days. So I'm excited, y'all. Let's talk. Let's do it. What y'all got?
So, how did you feel as your role being a man in this project?
Being only one of two people with a Y chromosome on this project is one of the most stressful things I've probably ever been a part of, because you want to have such a respect for the women you're trying to not only reach with the project, but also the ones that are right there with you on the committee. So, the best thing about it is my committee had an obligation that we gave them to make sure that, they get the best out of me and Devin, who else was on the project, right? For us, we're lucky because we can share our opinion. And I think sometimes, you have women's projects that are sometimes so focused on the women that you can have an outside opinion that may help take it to the next level. So, they were just willing to listen to us, which was cool. And we could give just raw male thoughts. And, it helped make the project actually go to the next level, because it gave us an opportunity to address some things with this topic, especially like strip clubs. We're having a conversation about them. In theory, it's a male dominated space, right? So when we're talking about the women who are working in there, a perspective that we could have, right? Whether it's, that makes me feel this type of way, just as a man sometimes can kind of help. But the ladies really killed it. So I really got a chance to kind of sit behind them and just figure out like what their ideas were, what were their goals, what did they want to accomplish, hear different perspectives from them. So it was really a lot of learning knowledge for us too. So, it was cool.
What was the most rewarding part of handling this event, or what did you learn that was surprising?
The most rewarding part of this was and I think sometimes we're troublemakers in a lot of ways, but to see the uncomfortability that we were addressing with this. For us, we understood that this was a topic that probably wasn't the easiest, especially coming from a faith-based organization. So, having to ask questions, right? Such as, should your kids poll, right? Like, what do you think about it? You kind of start to see the immediate traffic when, we're talking about just like homelessness or, HIV/AIDS, which we'll have coming up, to where people are a little bit more easy to respond to. But when you start to see just how silent sometimes things get when you're tackling a topic that quote unquote people look at, through a certain light, like, it's really rewarding, because I always tell my team, if there's no level of uncomfortability of what we're doing, then I don't think we're doing something right here. I think we need to be making sure that there's a level of conversation that people have to face head on with this project. So to be able to see everything that happened and really kind of see God come through even today, because we were a little off schedule with everything. It's really cool to see the women who sometimes have never told their story get an opportunity to tell a story for the first time that people probably either don't see or don't know because of whatever outside judgment they bring to the table. So, and then to tackle the knowledge part, man, just learning how this started. Like, for me, learning about that, like, Canada was one of like the largest proponents of how polls even came into strip clubs is so dope, right? Talking to some of the ladies who work in these clubs each and every night is also really cool, because you start to learn some of the history and dynamics of Birmingham and how it worked with the club industry that we have here, right? Whether it be Furnace and how they operate in terms of an operating standpoint, all the way down to Empire, which we had great close encounters with, to be able to see how they operate. Like, there's so many different nuances to this project that I feel like we was learning something new every day. So and still learning as we go. So it's been really cool.
I'm glad you brought up us being, Regenerate being faith-based, because I know one of the components is bridging the gap between this and church and pole dancing. And I guess I was going to ask, do you feel as though that we did a good job at showcasing a Christian-based organization stepping into a new life doing things like this, or do you feel as though like it's a generational type of thing? Because this generation, like Gen Z, is more spiritual based. They're more open to a lot of things. How does that shape? I guess. Do you feel like we have an impact on organizations now since that we stepped out that realm and started doing things like this?
No, for sure. I think, man, look, the coolest thing about being a part of a team like this is that I always charge everybody to be trendsetters, right? How can we get ahead of the curve, right? And I think, in tackling that question, we don't do things for the hype of the energy of it, right? But we do it more so to tackle ground that some people have not before. And I think when it comes down to the church and the conversation about it, to answer the question, do I think we did a good job? I would say yes, but I think that we also exposed how bad of a job sometimes churches do with this. Because there's also, it goes back to that uncomfortability, right? There's a level of uncomfortability, like when we're reaching out to different organizations and we're reaching out to people who we really would have thought would have championed behind this project. They went ghost. Like, it was quiet, for whatever reason it was, whether they had to, think about how they wanted to operate, whether they had to think about, does this look good for us or look good for our position on where we stand in faith? Like, you could finally start to see what I think of are some of the cracks in the armor of the church sometimes. And it's unfortunate that way. But I think now, to also answer another part of that question, right, I think that, I always say somebody sees, something and they're able to take it because somebody hit their head when they walked into the door. So they know not to. I think there are going to be a lot of different churches or different, faith-based communities that are going to try and touch this topic now that maybe we have made a ground and a platform for. And I hope so, because it's about the women who are in that space more so. And I don't think you'll ever get an understanding of them if you never reach out and talk to them. So.
Do you believe this helped you better understand women?
For every journal, song, or lesson I've learned the hard way of understanding women, the biggest thing I think I've understood is that for something so great, sometimes there's a complexity that I'm not meant to understand. So I don't think I'll ever get there in terms of where I may want to be with understanding them, but boy, at least I understand a different segment of the world better. Right, a different community that I feel like my species and men look over every single day or judge every single day. So yeah, I think I learned a little bit more, but I know we got a completely long way to go. So we got cool. So I wasn't really a part of the women's poll session, so I'm not going to be talking long, but we'll pass the mic over to those who were really not implement. So what's the word? What's the word? Why'd I ask you? What's the word?
Instrumental?
We're instrumental, man, and letting this go. See, that's why I love Women's Month, man. Y'all be keeping it together. But yeah, so I got one more question. Go ahead. What y'all got?
What was the hardest part of this journey for you?
The hardest part of this journey for me was looking at myself as a leader for this. I think this is the longest. Because this project wasn't just a one-time only event. Like, this was really you really have to gain your research and be ready for 21 days of what we're trying to post. So, for me, I feel like as a leader, there's so many things that slipped. I feel like whether it be scheduling or whether it be communication, whether it be, making sure that I was the best leader I could possibly be, like that. This project pushed me more to see flaws in myself than I think I ever did, because this was really a marathon for me. So it was work, and then making sure that I did everything in the best way for the committee to be able to stand by it and say, I love this, right? And want to be a part of it and make sure that the women we're representing, one, as a male, as the coordinator of the women's project, it just seems all out of whack. So making sure that I handled that with a level of delicacy, you know what I'm saying? That hopefully could have taken us to the next level, and that people can leave this project saying, no, they weren't just doing it for any reason. They were doing it for really the better. And they left feeling that way was huge. And then doing it with respect, right, to my girlfriend, who's inspired the project, more than anything, right? I wanted to make sure that she was comfortable with everything that happened and everything that, was a part of it, because she's putting in the work every single day, teaching and choreographing and helping and installing poles in the house and everything. So, I wanted to make sure that everyone who, really were the key people in this project, which were more than me, had the respect to, say, hey, I actually like what they got going on. So it was difficult though. it was a journey, and I probably had a lot more hair before I cut it, but you know, here we are. So, but thank y'all. I appreciate y'all. So you know, stay tuned. We got some more coming. So 21 days, maybe 20 more. Who knows? Thank y'all.